Tear along the dotted line. Wow. Just like, wow. I'd be lying if I said I expected anything from this show. I think Skrull said it best when he said it looked like something he'd found on MTV in the early 2000s visually. And it does. But at this point, in a world where everybody went to the same art school, so all the styles are very similar to one another, it's nice to see something that stands out in the crowd. Tear Along the Dotted Line is an Italian Netflix cartoon created and written by Zito Calcare. I'm sorry if I said that name wrong, which is the name of the main character as well in the show. It took me now to realize that this story is some sort of an autobiography that actually sounds pretty neat. If I ever were to make a cartoon after I get other fictional cartoons done first, because I've had those ideas for years now, remind me to do an autobiographical cartoon of myself in this type of format, because I think I got a couple ideas in mind for that. If I had to give a description of this show in some sort of way, I think that it's a story about a guy that deals with anxiety, social awkwardness, and loneliness all together, and this is just moments of this person's life. At first, the story just simply fascinated me. I didn't know what was going on, I didn't know what exactly I liked about it, I wanted to like about it, but something kept me going. If I had to explain what this felt like, it felt like a story being told from the perspective of a guy that's very anxious, very paranoid, very like to himself type of person, a person that's very lonely. Like, this feels like this person's dealing with anxiety a lot. If you don't know who I'm talking about Zero, the main character. The series is just about him not necessarily complaining, but we're listening to his thoughts as he goes on in his life. He doesn't understand social interactions that much. He doesn't understand human emotions that much. He's very good with hands-on stuff and like practical things, but when it comes to emotions and stuff, that's where he kind of sucks at, and we get to see that, you know, through the eyes of himself, you know? And this was actually quite weird because most of the characters in here, or at least his best friend Sarah, was also voiced by the same person. I watched the English dub, by the way, so he voiced the main character and he voiced Sarah for most of the series, because it was being told through his perspective, so it makes sense. These are his thoughts and how he remembers things. And the girl of interest, Alice, for some reason he said he couldn't remember her voice, so she had this weird robotic voice going on, and it's quite weird because at first I thought, okay, you saw her once in high school, that's why you can't remember her, but he kept talking to her as an adult as well, and I'm confused. Why don't you remember her voice if you still talk to her to this day? It's very confusing to me. Like, why is her voice still robotic? At first I really didn't understand where this story was going. We just got different stuff of him complaining about where his life is and how being an adult is kind of really lame because you don't know what exactly you're gonna do, you don't know how you're gonna get there. I love the whole metaphor of the name of the series in general is called Tear Along the Dotted Line, and I love that as a metaphor for being that like roadmap to adulthood, and how he feels like he can't tear along that dotted line to travel across it. He's going all ways that he isn't supposed to go, which is very interesting when you think about it, because, you know, in reality most people think they have a roadmap of how they want things to go in their life, but while things continue going on, you'll come to realize that life doesn't always just go your way. You had to do these things, do this thing, you know. Some people had to grow up and get a job and stuff. Some people, they can't handle that pressure. They can't understand why things aren't going their way and why things seem like they just aren't getting better. And that was the perspective we had to deal with focusing on Zero. He's very to himself type of person. The only person he seems to talk to besides Sarah and Seiko and Alice every now and then is this armadillo companion that hangs around with him. He thought he was like a friend or a personified version of something at first, but no, that's how he views his conscience. an annoying armadillo walking around with him. That's just how he views his conscience, and his conscience isn't saying anything nice to him. It's calling him an idiot, saying everything he's doing wrong, and this is very much so representing anxiety to me, and I just relate to it. You know, I didn't come into this thing thinking, man, I'm gonna relate to this and feel so much about this, but I did, you know, like, especially especially for those of you who saw my BoJack Horseman video, you know that I have times and troubles where I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something better in my life. Sometimes I feel like, you know, why am I here exactly? Like, what's the purpose of, like, me being on this earth? Just don't understand it, you know? And that's what he's going through right now. Like, Zero doesn't have any goals in mind. He admires Sarah, he admires Alice because they have goals that they have put forth. Sarah wants to be a teacher, but she just hasn't had that opportunity yet. His friend Seko, he just deals with the cards that he was dealt with, and he just makes his life however he wants to be with it. You know, he's a very melancholy person. Is that the word? He's a very melancholy person. Nonchalant. He's a very nonchalant person. That's the word. There it is. Going into the story, I didn't exactly know what was going on or how it was happening. I thought that this whole time we were just getting like bits and pieces of different times in his life. You know, he talked about his time tutoring people. He talked about over here when his car broke down and stuff, and how he's gonna be late to pick up Seko to go to the train and everything. And it was very weird and very discombobulating. He talked about his high school life with Alice and how he never had the opportunity to say how he felt because he just can't deal with emotions that well, and how she tried to text him one night and kept calling him and calling him and calling him, but he just wouldn't pick up and wouldn't answer the phone, and end up ghosting her for 2 weeks because he just doesn't know how to interact with people well. But once they finally started getting down to the nitty-gritty of things, I completely understand where the story went and how it was going. You know, he never opens his feelings up to her, and he feels like she doesn't reciprocate those feelings. She has been in and out of this abusive relationship with this, I don't know, they didn't show him, which, you know, rightfully so, because he sounds like a monster. But she's been in this abusive relationship that it sucked. She couldn't get out of it, you know? And it's all boiled down to one night where she called him and asked him if he could come over. It was like 2 a.m. He decided to. They were just there hugging each other, just there. And things were, you know, getting heated on and stuff, and she tried to lean in for a kiss, and he pushed away because he doesn't know emotions. Like, he feels like he likes her and he's infatuated with her, but for some reason he pushed away and ended up leaving, like, after that awkwardness. But on the second to last episode, we cut back to them being on a train. I didn't know that this was continuing on from, I didn't know that this was a continuing story. I thought this was just a bunch of different stories, but this is a continuing story. His car broke down, he had to get his mom to call him, and they were gonna be late, quote unquote. You know, this is just him being paranoid and anxious. Going over to Seko's place to take the bus to go to the train, and now they're on a train going to Rome, I think. They met these old people. I did not know who these old people were, but it turns out they were Alice's grandparents. I think Alice's parents or grandparents. I'm honestly not sure which. How I found out was very odd. It was after they got there, after, you know, they all went to bed, and he's having to go to the bathroom. He has to walk past them, and he's very anxious, like, oh no, these old people are gonna try to talk to me about everything and stuff. But instead, this old lady went in to hug him, and she says, "Thank you for coming here for Alice." It hit me. It really did. It dawned on me just at that moment that, oh, Alice, took her own life, dude. I had to sit there and think about it for a moment. Like, I don't know. It's too relatable, if that makes sense. Not saying that people have ended their own lives around me or whatever, but these are like two ends of the same spectrum right here, you know? Like, from what the story has portrayed up till now, Alice and Zero felt very similar to one another. They both didn't know where they were going in life, and for Alice, she had a goal. For Zero, he didn't. That was the only difference, and that difference made it all different. Alice felt like she wasn't getting anywhere towards that goal. She was failing financially, failing in her relationships, and yeah, she just couldn't take it anymore, and it's just sad. It really is. I can't deal with suicide in stories well. It hits me too hard, because, like, mentally speaking, I've been there. I've wanted to, you know, do these things, but I personally have not. But there's been a plethora of times where guys, if you're also feeling this way, and I've always felt this way, I have linked this in my BoJack Horseman video, and I think I've linked it in another video as well. But please call this hotline. They even linked a website in the ending of the show that you could go check out as well, so go do that as well. Like, if you're feeling some sort of way and don't know who you want to talk to these people who it's their job to listen to you. Like, they will listen to you. They are here to help you. They won't dismiss you and your problems. I love the funeral in the show because we end up finally getting out of Zero's mind. Like, it was at this point where he had to go away because he didn't know what to feel. He felt like he wanted to cry. He didn't know if it was appropriate to cry here. And Sarah had to tell him, like, dude, this isn't about you. It's not about crying and stuff. Like, Alice has always liked you, but you always pushed her away. And that broke him. That fucking broke him, because he felt like she didn't reciprocate the same feelings towards him. So he didn't catch any of the signals and everything. So that really took a toll on him. And it turns out that she was calling him that time a bunch of times one day because she was going back home to Rome and she really wanted to confess to him. And he ended up ghosting her for 2 weeks because he didn't know that. He sucks at social interactions sometimes. God damn. I love this though, because after he gets smacked in the back of the head by Sarah, things start opening up a bit more. Not necessarily that much, but Sarah has her own voice now. I don't think she had her own voice earlier, but now she does, and it's great. It's like now we're not inside of his head, we're in reality. Like, this is happening, and it's just going to be played straight. And it was, like, genuinely. Her parents ended up playing this video of her telling this story to a bunch of kids that she was helping out, and that story sounded very familiar, because if you watched it, that was the same story that he linked to her long ago when she asked him to write a children's book for her. If this didn't leave you with anything, the message that should be taken away from here is to not be consumed with your own thoughts, not be too caught up in your own journey, because everybody around you is also going through their own journey, going through their own emotions and stuff that you don't see. Like, you think you know them, but you only get a small piece of what they want you to see. Like, you don't show them your all, so why do you think they show you their all? Be there for people, understand people, talk to people. If you feel like you miss somebody and you feel like you haven't talked to that one person in forever, talk to them, reach out, do what you can, because you never know when it's gonna be too late. You never know when something's gonna happen and you're gonna be like, dude, I was just thinking about them the other day. I can't believe I can never speak to them again, type stuff. And just be there for the people that you love. That's all I can say. Make sure they know that you love and appreciate them. That's all that you can do in life. Just be there for the people you love. I did not expect to go along for a journey like this. I love it when you find something and it surprises you with how well it is. It happened to me a lot within the last year. Saying Zero is a great character is an understatement. Not great in a sense of a morality right character, but great in a sense of a character that has flaws, that he can change. He knows he can change if he wanted to, but he's so stuck in his ways, he just doesn't see the purpose of changing. He doesn't see that he has any problems. This is very relatable, and I have even been called out for trying to relate things to myself or talk about myself way too often. So I get it. I don't need this story to have a season 2. I don't want this story to have a season 2. I think it's a great experience in a finished product just like this. If you are wondering if you should give this a shot and have made it through this entire video without watching the show, yes, go for it. Especially if you relate to these things as well, it will open your eyes to things that you haven't thought of before. And I really like that. So, yeah. With that being said, I'll see each and every one of you guys later. Goodbye.